Actually, Keynes really sort of didn't make that argument. But let's assume, yeah, the idea behind the Keynesian argument that I absolutely love, and I thought it was wrong in graduate school, and I'm sure it's wrong now, is that, okay, I take your Zimbabwe money from you, I spend it with Amy, and that creates all these wonderful multiplier effects. But the problem is that you would have spent it with somebody else, and we've had negative multiplier effects, but they're never counted. So Keynesian economics proceeds by not seeing the damage that you do when you take money away from productive citizens.
And you know, if that were the case, what was the argument on the stimulus? I think it was Christina Romer or somebody who said, for every dollar of stimulus, we're going to get $1.50 in economic benefit. Well, if that's the case, then why wasn't the stimulus $10 trillion? I mean,
it's the same silliness you get out of the Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce, which is, you know, we're going to build something here, and we've shown that when you invest in whatever the public works project is, you get 10 times the economic activity. All right. We brushed over something here, and I want to make sure we have enough time. We're talking about money they have already spent.
Right.
We haven't talked about money they have promised to spend. And I'm talking about Social Security, Medicare, and the granddaddy of them all, Obamacare, which is this unfunded mandate. So when we take the $13 trillion debt we have right now and add on to it the projected things we promised to buy that we have no money to buy, how big is that number? Do we have a number?
110 trillion is the last that I saw.
110 trillion.
That's unfunded liabilities, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security,
right, so
Medicare Part B, whatever.
So we're talking 10 times the amount. We're talking about every...
It's an astounding number.
So we're talking that every man, woman, and child owes hundreds of thousands of dollars.
No, we don't owe it. The government owes it. It's crucial to make the distinction between individuals and the federal government.
But what if they default? I guess
if the federal government defaults, that's not, you're not defaulting on your house if the federal government defaults. The federal government is just defaulting.
Well, then, do we turn into Greece? I guess what I'm asking is, are we? And I'm not a black
olives still grow in
helicopter.
Greece, and you know, people still work and get paid in Greece. You know, they go out and catch fish, they come back, they sell them, they get paid. But the government's a disaster. Now, you don't want to have a disastrous government because bad things can happen. But it's not the same as the
I'm not a black helicopter kind of guy. I'm not running around in camouflage. But are we talking about potentially the end of our federal government? I mean, I don't know how you can have a debt, an unfunded mandate of $110 trillion and not look at it and go, you know, that's not sustainable. If we keep going, it disappears, doesn't it?
Right, but we don't have to keep going. I mean, there are a lot of things the federal government could do that would get this under control fairly quickly. You encourage a growing economy.
Taxes, and taxes. Right?
Oh, that was the encourage the growing economy part is not taxes. What they have to do is cut spending. I mean, for example, can anybody tell me what the Department of Education does that's useful? Okay.
They give money to school districts.
Yes.
They don't give Colorado money for Race to the Top. That's what they do.
Why don't we just stop taking money out of your pocket and my pocket? Let us keep our money and say, okay, federal government, don't take the money from me, take it to Washington, and then give it back to Colorado. Just forget about the transfer payments. Eliminate the Department of Education, for example. There's all kinds of things like that that could happen and will have to happen in the federal government because there simply isn't enough productivity to pay for it.
It's not just the federal government. And one of the things that you're working on at the Independence Institute that I'm really excited about is to try to take a look at debt in Colorado. Now here, the state is not supposed to have debt, the state government, but we issue it in something called certificates of participation. But we have other governments in Colorado.
Yeah, we do.
And while the left likes to beat up on Colorado, see, they don't spend enough as a state, they forget that Colorado is a small state government state, but a large local government. We have 3,300 local governments and special districts. And you're starting to take a look at the debt these governments are starting to look, and you're only scratching the surface. What have you found?
Well, we have found, we looked at cities and counties and school districts. And the other thing that we cannot forget, though, about the state of Colorado is the unfunded liability of PARA. So that's a whole nother.
The government retirement account.
Right. So
it's a great super security system for government workers.
So while we technically, I guess, you know, we don't have debt at the state level, there's that unfunded liability. And also, let's not forget that voters said no to debt with referendum D. So their voters in Colorado didn't like debt at the state level. So they said no. But at the city, county, and the school district level, there is a significant amount of debt. And trying to remember this off the top of my head, but I think it's about $31 billion, which comes out to roughly $6,000 for every man, woman, and child.
So beyond the $44,000
Right.
every man, woman, and child
Right. But
is responsible for in some way or another for the federal debt, or the government is. You could say our share per person here in Colorado is another $6,000. So every man, woman, and child
right.
is 50 grand. That's their share of government
But
debt.
that doesn't include metro districts or special districts, your library district, your parks and rec, your
hospital authorities.
yeah, well, all of those, all of those special districts, which there's another, I don't know, 1,500 of those. I mean, there's a lot, and it's not just how much debt that they have, but it's also their outstanding debt that they can accrue. So in other words, it's like a credit card. You might only have a $5,000 balance, but you can borrow up to $25,000. So we are scratching the surface on the metro districts and the local districts because it is not an easy task.
Only got a couple minutes left, but
Okay.
it's worth patting the backs of those governments that have done it right and wagging in shame those who have done it wrong. What governments in Colorado have really done it wrong?
Well, there are a couple that have, and when I say wrong, I mean they have
a ton
lot
of debt.
They have a lot of debt. Remembering, again, off the top of my head, I want to say Boulder.
My county,
yeah,
yes.
Boulder loves it, and they love
But
it.
we got lots of beautiful open space. We got fields
Which,
and
by
fields.
the way, you wonder, what is it producing?
Prairie dogs. Don't you read the papers?
Obviously,
Which,
right,
by the way,
community.
fried is better than baked.
Just in case. The other one, and if I remember correctly, Adams County had a significant amount.
Who's doing it right?
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Weld County has
Your
zero
county.
debt. Zero debt. We are a pay-as-you-go county. We stick by that. When we need to build something large like a prison, we save up the money.
Seriously, Weld County has been
Zero
able to
debt.
build jails,
Yep.
build its infrastructure by saving money first and then spending it.
Right, right, and we pay a little bit as we go. So in other words, the jail has a number of different components in it. So we might buy this material one year, and we'll buy another material the next year, and that way we pay no interest on any debt. We have no debt.
Isn't it true because you just shoot the inmates and that way
Listen,
it's
you
not
know
a
what?
problem?
We don't have a problem.
In Denver, we're not allowed to do that. All right.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are. It's in the Constitution. We've got about a minute left. Help me understand. What is it that we need to do on a state or a local level or on a national level? What's the first, second, third things we need to do very quickly?
Stop the spending. So you've got to eliminate entire programs. You have to go through the whole budget and say, we're not going to do this. Then you've got to stop burdening business.
How so?
Because that's what produces the tax money that's going to pay off the debt.
The over-regulation that we're seeing, for instance, in
get
the
rid of
mining industry
regulation.
now.
Yes.
Right. And
That's it.
That's
it's
it.
easy.
Stop spending,
Stop the spending
regulating.
and stop the regulation. And
I think they call that a free market.
No, can't work, will not work. Linda Gorman, thank you so very much. Amy Oliver, thank you. You can listen to you on KFKA 1310 up in, what's that place again? Greeley. I'm Jon Caldara. Tell a friend about the Independence Institute. Look for us on independenceinstitute.org. Listen for me late nights on 850 KOA, and by all means, tell a friend. We'll see you next week.